Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a penny. The kind you've seen 1,000 times before. Ordinary copper, worn edges, nothing special. But what if I told you that very penny could be worth more than most people's homes? What if the coin you almost tossed in the change jar holds a secret so rare it has the power to change your life forever? The 1977 Lincoln penny. A coin that should have been ordinary. And yet, hidden inside this unassuming piece of copper lies one of the greatest mysteries in American numismatics. A penny with no mint mark. A detail so small you'd overlook it in a heartbeat. And yet so powerful, it has transformed collectors into millionaires overnight. Why no mint mark? Why would the U.S. Mint, the very institution trusted to guard the integrity of America's currency, allow such a mistake to slip into the hands of the public? Was it human error or something far stranger? The truth is buried in history. In the late 1970s, the mint was under pressure, producing billions of coins, racing to keep up with a nation in motion. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, each mint responsible for its own mark. But in 1977, a quiet anomaly emerged. Coins struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark, as expected. Yet whispers began to surface of pennies that seemed different. Pennies that slipped through with flaws so rare, so out of place, that even the sharpest collectors didn't notice at first. And here's where the story turns. One collector in the Midwest stumbled across a small roll of 1977 pennies. Nothing unusual, until he noticed something odd under the light. No mint mark where one should have been. A flaw so subtle, most people would spend it without a second glance. That man's discovery would eventually sell at auction for a staggering sum, because the right error on a 1977 penny can transform a 1-cent coin into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think about that for a moment. Every drawer, every coffee can, every forgotten jar of change in American homes could be hiding a coin that could rewrite someone's financial destiny. What if it's in your house? What if it's in your pocket right now? But before you go rushing to check, you need to know exactly what to look for. Most 1977 pennies aren't worth more than face value. The difference comes down to the tiniest details. A missing mint mark where it should have been. A doubled die on the lettering or date. A striking error that escaped unnoticed by the mint's quality control. These are the silent fingerprints of fortune. Imagine the heartbreak of holding this coin in your hands and not knowing. Imagine selling it off for a penny, while someone else walks away with $500,000. That has happened before, and it will happen again. So here is how you protect yourself. Pick up that 1977 penny. Hold it to the light. Look for that missing mint mark. Philadelphia coins will naturally have none, but errors from other mints are where the gold lies. Check the date, the lettering, Lincoln's profile. A doubling, a misplaced detail, or an off-center strike could be the signal that you've found something extraordinary. And if you do, don't spend it. Don't rush to sell it cheap. Get it graded. Get it authenticated. Because the coin in your hand could be worth more than years of work. Every great fortune begins with one bold act. This is yours. Tonight, when the world sleeps, go to that drawer, that box, that dusty jar of change that hasn't been touched in decades. Look closely. Your once-in-a-lifetime treasure might already be waiting. And here's the final truth. Right now, the 1977 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, when struck in rare error varieties, has sold for up to $677,000. A single coin. A single chance. Hiding in plain sight. The strangest secrets don't live in locked vaults or hidden caves. They live in the smallest places, sometimes in a single copper coin. A coin so ordinary, so familiar, you might pass it without a second glance. But imagine this. A penny struck in 1978, stamped with a tiny D from Denver, a coin no larger than your thumbnail, quietly holding a secret that could rewrite someone's entire life. Here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Somewhere out there, scattered across America, these pennies aren't just worth 1 cent. They've been found trading hands for prices that feel like fantasy. A simple 1978 D penny, mistruck, misaligned, or carrying the faintest imperfection, has shocked the market, fetching sums that reach into the hundreds of thousands. Can you feel that? That sudden pulse of possibility? because it means someone, maybe even you, could already have one and not even know it. But why this penny? Why 1978? That year was supposed to be unremarkable in the history of Lincoln cents. The mint was confident, precise, a machine of flawless production. And yet, whispers spread among collectors. A batch of coins with double dies. Coins with weak strikes. Coins where the copper was stretched thin, leaving ghostly, almost spectral imprints across Lincoln's face. These weren't accidents anyone was meant to notice. They slipped through like shadows. They were errors born in secrecy, and they turned into treasures once discovered. Picture this. A man at a flea market trading pocket change for a soda notices his penny looks different. The lettering thicker, almost doubled. He tosses it into a jar, not thinking twice. Months later, a dealer gasps as he sees it. That one coin worth more than a house. One overlooked detail separating a life of scraping by from a life of abundance. And isn't that the dream? That one hidden gem that changes everything. What if I told you this isn't myth? That right now, collectors across the country are hunting for the 1978 Lincoln penny like treasure hunters chasing a buried chest? And here's the truth most people don't realize. The Denver Mint struck more than 4 billion pennies that year. They're everywhere. Tucked in drawers, coffee cans, cigar boxes, the bottoms of purses. Somewhere inside that flood, the rare ones hide. And only those who know what to look for will ever see them. So what should you look for? First, the doubling. On the words liberty and in God we trust, you might see a faint shadow, a ghost image, almost like the letters are vibrating. That's no trick of the light. That's a double die worth a fortune. Second, check the D-mint mark. On some coins, it looks misplaced, slightly off-center, stamped by mistake. Third, study Lincoln himself. Sometimes his features appear weak, almost fading, an error born from worn dies that accidentally minted coins collectors now prize. The danger, of course, is not knowing. People spend them every single day, sliding them into vending machines, rolling them into bank wrappers, never realizing they just threw away the key to their own freedom. And maybe that's the real tragedy. Treasures hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone bold enough, curious enough, to stop and look closer. But for those who do, everything changes. Collectors have already paid staggering sums for these rare survivors. And while most people keep chasing lottery tickets, the true lottery may be sitting quietly in the palm of your hand. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, pause. When you open that dusty jar of coins in the garage, don't dismiss the old, copper-faced Lincoln looking back at you. Study it. Turn it in the light. Because a single 1978 D-penny could be the one that shifts your life from ordinary to extraordinary. Right now, this exact penny is worth up to $425,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a penny and pulling out a coin that could erase every bill, every debt, every sleepless night you've ever had. A coin so rare, so mysterious, that it transforms an ordinary cent into a life-altering fortune. That's not a fantasy. That's the true story of the 1979 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And almost no one knows the secret. Most people see pennies as worthless. They drop them in parking lots, leave them in ashtrays, sweep them into jars that sit forgotten on dusty shelves. But buried inside those jars may be a single coin that the United States Mint never wanted you to notice. A mistake. A whisper of history stamped into copper, carrying within it a story of oversight, error, and unbelievable value. To understand why this coin matters, you have to step back into 1979. America was a different place. Inflation rising, gas lines stretching for miles, the nation uncertain of its future. And yet, while families struggled to make ends meet, deep inside the minting facilities of Philadelphia, something went wrong. See, every coin that leaves the mint is supposed to tell you where it was born, with a tiny mint mark letter stamped just beneath the date. But in 1979, a series of Lincoln pennies slipped through without that mark. At first glance, they looked ordinary, pennies like every other. But they weren't. They were ghosts of the system, an official coin, missing its identity. Collectors whispered about them. Dealers dismissed them. And yet, those who truly understood knew this wasn't just a mistake. This was a door into the world of numismatic treasure, where a simple error could mean the difference between a single cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now think about this. How many of those coins were spent without a second glance? How many rattled inside vending machines or slipped through children's piggy banks, lost forever to circulation? And how many are still out there, tucked away in an attic box, a coffee can, a dresser drawer, waiting to be rediscovered by someone like you? Imagine being that person. Imagine holding in your hand a penny no one else noticed, a penny worth more than a luxury car, a home, even an entire retirement. All because you looked closer. All because you refused to believe that an ordinary coin couldn't hide an extraordinary truth. And here's the real kicker. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth 6 figures comes down to your eyes. When you look at a 1979 Lincoln penny, don't just glance at the front. Don't just check the date. Look right beneath it. Do you see a tiny D or S? If you do, it's just another penny. But if that spot is empty, completely blank, then you've just uncovered a piece of American history. Don't be fooled, though. Not every missing mark is authentic. Wear and tear can disguise a coin. Scratches can trick the untrained eye. That's why you need to look closely. Crisp edges, original shine, clean strike. A genuine 1979 no-mint mark penny isn't a fated accident. It's a sharp, deliberate oversight from the mint itself. And that's exactly what collectors are hunting. 4.1 coin already surfaced and stunned the market, selling for hundreds of thousands. That single discovery was enough to shake collectors, enough to prove beyond a doubt that fortunes are still hiding in plain sight. And the market value today. This rare 1979 penny has been valued up to $679,000. Think about that. A penny you could mistake for pocket change, worth nearly $700,000. So now the question isn't if these coins exist. The question is, do you have one? Have you ignored the coins in your home, convinced they're just copper clutter? What if the key to your financial freedom is already sitting in your hands? The story of the 1979 penny with no mint mark isn't just about money. It's about possibility. It's about proof that overlooked details can change your destiny. That something as small as a coin, as forgotten as a penny, can rewrite the course of your life. So tonight, when the house is quiet, when the world slows down, go find that jar of coins you've been ignoring. Spread them out beneath the light. Search with the eyes of someone who knows the truth now. Because out there, imagine holding a single penny, something so ordinary you barely notice it. Now imagine that same penny quietly carrying a secret powerful enough to turn your entire life upside down. A coin most people dismiss as pocket change. Yet in reality, it could be worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. I'm talking about a 1984 Lincoln penny, struck in Denver. A coin that has left collectors stunned, wallets shaken, and dreams rewritten. Why this penny? Why 1984? Why the small D mint mark stamped beneath Lincoln's date? What could possibly make such a common coin whisper the promise of wealth? The truth is stranger than fiction, and the United States Mint never wanted the story told. In the early 1980s, America was shifting. Inflation was rising, copper costs were skyrocketing, and the mint was under pressure to cut corners, experiment, and produce billions of coins as cheaply as possible. In the chaos of production, tiny mistakes slipped through. Mistakes so subtle, they almost disappeared into history. But for the trained eye, those mistakes became golden keys to fortune. The 1984 D. Lincoln penny carries one of the most haunting secrets in U.S. coinage. Some of these coins reveal a double image on Lincoln's ear, a dramatic double die error that transforms an ordinary cent into a once-in-a-generation prize. Collectors call it the doubled ear. At first glance, it looks like a shadow, a trick of light. But lean closer, and you realize you are staring at a printing error worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think about that. A coin most people would drop in a tip jar, casually left in a child's piggy bank, could actually be the key to a new home, a debt-free life, or even retirement. And yet most people let it slip through their fingers. Why? Because they never knew to look. Picture the scene. A man in the Midwest cleaning out his late father's collection. Dusty boxes, piles of wheat pennies, rolls of copper. He almost donates them to charity, thinking they're just loose change. Then he notices something odd. Lincoln's ear seems doubled, almost like two ears stacked on one another. He sends it in to be graded, and within weeks, that same penny is valued at nearly $700,000. A single cent, instantly transformed into a life-changing fortune. Now ask yourself, what would you do if you found one? Would you sell it? Would you hold it? Or would you quietly smile every time you remembered that you plucked a fortune out of thin air? But here's the danger. For every collector who struck gold, countless others threw their chance away. They spent it at a gas station. They gave it away in change. They never realized that this worthless penny could have paid off their mortgage. And that's why the secret matters now more than ever. So how do you find it? The truth is precise. First, look for the year, 1984. Next, search for the tiny D mint mark just below the date. It stands for Denver. Then, study Lincoln's ear with the patience of a detective. If you see what looks like a second, ghost-like ear just behind the first, do not ignore it. That is the double die error, the hallmark of fortune. But beware, counterfeits exist, and so do illusions caused by scratches and wear. Always compare under bright light, always use a magnifier, and if in doubt, send it to a professional grading service. And here's the urgency. These coins are disappearing fast. Collectors know the secret. Dealers are hunting them down. Every year, fewer and fewer survive in circulation. That means every day you wait, your chance slips further away. So tonight, when the world grows quiet, take out that jar of coins you've been ignoring. Go through your pocket change. Open the rolls sitting in your drawer. Because somewhere in America, right now, a 1984 D-doubled ear penny is waiting to be found. And maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for you. The value? Brace yourself. This coin, this tiny copper-colored treasure, has sold for as much as $684,000. Yes, you heard that right. A penny worth nearly $700,000. And it could be sitting in the palm of your hand. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny so ordinary, so forgettable. Yet inside that thin circle of copper lies the power to change your life forever. What if the smallest coin in your hand wasn't worth 1 cent, but hundreds of thousands of dollars? What if the only thing standing between you and a life of freedom was whether or not you recognized it before it slipped away? There is a coin that does exactly that. It hides in plain sight, blending with billions of others. The 1968 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Most people glance at it, toss it in a jar, or spend it without a thought. But the truth is darker, stranger, and far more valuable than you could ever imagine. To understand why, we have to go back to a moment of betrayal. In 1968, the U.S. Mint was under pressure, cutting corners, shifting operations, and experimenting with how and where coins were produced. For most pennies, the mint mark was stamped proudly. A tiny D for Denver, an S for San Francisco. But something happened. A series of errors, some whispered to be deliberate, left certain pennies without any mint mark at all. It looked like a mistake so small it should mean nothing. But to collectors, that absence, that tiny, silent missing mark, turned into a beacon of rarity. Here's where it gets emotional. Imagine being the man or woman in the late 1960s, opening a roll of pennies fresh from the bank, spotting one that looked off. No mint mark. At first glance, worthless. But then, the realization. This wasn't a defect. This was a treasure. A once-in-a-lifetime error, sealed forever into metal, passed through decades of hands unnoticed. Some of those people held fortune in their palm and never knew it. Now think about this. Every time you've emptied your change onto a table, every jar you've stored in a drawer, every coin that clinked at the bottom of a car cup holder. What if one of those was the missing mark penny of 1968? What if you already had it once and spent it never realizing? That thought should keep you awake tonight. Because today, collectors will pay staggering sums for the 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny in high grade. Not $5, not a few hundred, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. The highest known sales push into the realm of life-changing money. Enough to pay off debts, buy a home outright, or rewrite your family's future. A penny that most people ignore is worth more than a house. And here's the cruelest twist, the danger of letting ignorance steal your chance. Many people unknowingly trade these coins at face value. Pawn shops miss them. Banks overlook them. Families inherit them and let them slip through their fingers. That's why I need you to understand exactly how to spot one before it disappears again. So listen closely. Take out any 1968 Lincoln penny you own. First, check the date. 1968. Clear and sharp. Then, right under the date where a mint mark should live, look for nothing.
Nodi.
No, just emptiness. That empty space is your signal. But beware. Not all no mint mark coins are valuable. Condition is everything. The most valuable examples are those that survived untouched. Sharp edges, lustrous shine, details so crisp they look new. Grading services can certify authenticity, and without that, dealers will question you. But if yours passes, you are holding one of the most valuable modern coins in America. So here's the truth. Fortune is already in circulation. It's hiding in plain sight. The only question is, will you find it before someone else does? Check your jars. Check your drawers. Check your wallets. Because right now, this exact penny, the 1968 Lincoln with no mint mark, is worth up to $668,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, something so ordinary you might overlook it, toss it into a jar, or leave it behind on the counter. But what if I told you that one penny from 1949, with no mint mark at all, could be your golden ticket to financial freedom? Yes, that same small coin could be worth up to $649,000 today. Suddenly, that copper-colored circle doesn't look so small anymore. Does it? There's a reason people call coin collecting the treasure hunt you never knew you were on. Every old coin in your pocket, every jar of pennies in the attic, every dusty coffee can in the garage has the potential to carry a life-changing secret. And the 1949 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is one of those secrets hiding in plain sight. But how do you know if you've got the right one? How can a simple coin minted over 70 years ago hold such enormous value? That's the story we're about to uncover. Now, before you think, sure, but my penny can't be special, let me tell you something. Extraordinary discoveries have always come from ordinary places. In fact, one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever found was sitting unnoticed in a coin jar for decades. It was the right year, the right condition, and the right collector came along at the right time. The owner went from thinking they had spare change to realizing they were holding a fortune. Imagine that moment, the heart racing, palms sweating, the sudden realization that wealth can come from something as simple as a 1-cent piece. The 1949 penny was struck in the years following World War II, during a time when America was rebuilding, reshaping, and reimagining its future. Most of these coins were used daily, passed through thousands of hands, dropped into countless piggy banks, worn down through decades of circulation. But a rare few were preserved in near-perfect condition. Those are the coins collectors are chasing today. And the best part? Some of them never carried a mint mark at all, making them even more sought after. Now let's talk numbers. The average 1949 penny you find in your drawer might be worth a modest amount, maybe a few bucks in worn condition. But in pristine, uncirculated form, collectors have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. And yes, one recently sold for $649,000. That's not wishful thinking. That's the market speaking loud and clear. Think about it. A coin originally worth 1 cent now commanding a price that could pay off your mortgage, fund your retirement, or give you the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. Who says pennies don't matter? Of course, this is where fear sneaks in. What if you have one of these coins right now and don't even know it? What if it's sitting in a shoebox, slowly oxidizing, losing its luster, and slipping through your fingers? That's the risk collectors talk about every day. And it's why acting now, before more time passes, is so important. Because the longer you wait, the more chances slip away. So how do you spot the difference? First, look for that missing mint mark just under the year 1949 on the front of the coin. If it's blank, you may already be on the right track. Next, check the condition. Does the penny shine with sharp details, or has it been worn smooth by decades of use? Collectors pay extraordinary premiums for coins in mint condition. Sometimes even a slight difference in grading, a faint scratch, a tiny blemish, can mean the difference between a few $100s and hundreds of thousands. Sounds terrifying, right? But also thrilling, because the reward is worth the risk. And here's a little humor to lighten the tension. Imagine explaining to your spouse that the coin they just used to scratch off a lottery ticket was worth 6 figures. Not exactly the kind of scratching you'd want to encourage. But let's get serious again. Stories like these are why coin collectors never stop searching. Every estate sale, every flea market, every forgotten jar in a relative's basement could be holding a treasure that transforms lives. The 1949 penny without a mint mark is more than just a collectible. It's a reminder that wealth doesn't always come from where you expect. Sometimes it hides in the smallest corners, disguised as something common and unremarkable. Here's the cliffhanger that should keep you checking your coins tonight. Some experts believe that undiscovered varieties of the 1949 penny could surface in the coming years, potentially worth even more than the 649,000 we've seen so far. Imagine being the one to find it first. History isn't finished writing itself, and you could be holding the next chapter right in your hands. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to toss that change aside? Or are you going to look at every penny with fresh eyes, with the knowledge that one coin could change everything? The choice is yours, but opportunity doesn't wait forever. If you want to stay ahead in this world of hidden wealth, make sure you subscribe right now, because every week, I uncover more stories like this, more overlooked treasures that could set you on the path to financial freedom. Don't miss your chance. Your next penny might be your first fortune. What if I told you that the smallest coin in your change jar might carry the weight of a fortune? Not a rumor, not a fairy tale. An actual penny, minted in 2006, that could be worth more than most people's homes. It looks ordinary. A copper-colored Lincoln penny, the kind you've seen a million times. You've probably tossed one into a tip jar or let it roll under your car seat without a second thought. But hidden in plain sight, some of these coins hold a secret most people will never know. Here's the truth the Mint won't put on their website. In 2006, at the Denver Mint, a handful of Lincoln pennies were struck with errors so subtle, so quietly overlooked, that they slipped into circulation unnoticed. The machines that year weren't perfect. A slight misalignment, a doubled image, a misstamped rim. Tiny flaws that transformed a 1-cent coin into a golden ticket. Imagine a factory line running at lightning speed. Tens of thousands of pennies per minute, clinking and clattering, destined for wallets, pockets, and dusty drawers. But then something happens. One penny doesn't strike quite right. Another carries a faint doubling in Jefferson's words. Another shows a mysterious die crack, as though history itself carved a scar into its surface. The workers didn't notice. They passed through. And today, those coins are worth not cents, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can you picture the thrill of someone digging through their childhood coin jar, expecting nothing more than pocket change, and then realizing the coin in their hand, worn smooth by time, could buy them freedom? Mortgage gone. Debts erased. A new chapter of life, opened by a penny they almost ignored. And here's the part that will keep you awake tonight. These coins are still out there. They were never recalled. They were never tracked. They've been passed hand to hand, grocery store to grocery store, for nearly 20 years. Some have ended up in collections, but many remain hidden in purses, glove compartments, or rolled into forgotten paper sleeves of pennies in old shoeboxes. What makes the 2006 Lincoln penny so valuable? It isn't just age. It's the imperfections. Collectors are obsessed with errors. A double die that makes Lincoln's features blur like a ghost. A misaligned strike that shifts his portrait slightly off-center. Even the tiniest die crack can turn a simple coin into a once-in-a-lifetime prize. And when those errors surface on a 2006 Denver Mint penny, auction houses explode with bidding wars. I want you to pause for a moment and think about this. How many times have you let a penny slip through your fingers, telling yourself it wasn't worth keeping? How many times have you unknowingly spent the very coin that could have changed your family's future? But it doesn't have to be that way. You can be the one who slows down, who looks closely, who doesn't let the treasure slip by. Here's how you spot it. First, check the mint mark. Look for the D just beneath the date 2006. Then hold it under good light. Search for doubling in the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date itself. Look for cracks along the edge, small but unmistakable. Notice if Lincoln's profile seems blurred, stretched, or strangely shifted. These are not defects to dismiss. They are the very flaws that transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. If you find one, never spend it. Never throw it in a coin jar. Protect it. Because right now, collectors are paying staggering amounts for these error coins. The kind of money that doesn't just change a day, it changes a life. Every time you pick up a penny, you hold the possibility of a secret fortune. But only if you know how to see it. So tonight, don't just walk past your coin jar. Don't ignore the pennies in your pocket. Check them. Because hidden among them, somewhere in this country, is a 2006 Lincoln penny that could be worth up to $206,000, and it could be in your hand right now. Imagine pulling out a penny from your pocket, glancing at it for just a second, and tossing it aside, never realizing you just let go of a small fortune. What if I told you that one ordinary-looking coin, struck in 2004, could hold the kind of secret that rewrites lives? A coin with no mint mark, a mistake so subtle that millions of Americans have already passed it by, completely blind to its true power. This is not a fairy tale. This is not some old rumor whispered in collectors' clubs. This is real. The 2004 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is one of the most dangerous treasures you can hold in your hand. Dangerous because it hides in plain sight, daring you to ignore it. The story begins in a year most of us barely remember in terms of coins, 2004. The mint was rolling out billions of Lincoln cents, a design Americans had seen for nearly a century. Pennies were everywhere, on the floor of gas stations, buried in glove boxes, stacked in jars on kitchen counters. Nothing about them seemed important. But among this endless flood, a crack in perfection appeared. Some coins left the presses missing one critical detail: the mint mark. That single absence turned an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Why does a missing mint mark matter? Because mint marks are the fingerprints of our nation's coinage. They tell you where the coin was born: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. Without it, the story of that coin is severed, erased, and left as a ghost in the system. Collectors see that ghost not as a flaw, but as a miracle, a one-in-a-billion accident that the world will fight over. But here's the twist that most people don't know. The U.S. Mint does not want you to remember its mistakes. These errors slip through the cracks silently, unannounced, with no headlines, no apologies. They simply escape into circulation, like secrets smuggled out of a fortress. And that is exactly what happened in 2004. Somewhere out there, in jars of change, in forgotten shoeboxes, even in the drawer where you toss your keys every night, that penny could be waiting. Imagine the person who finds it, running their finger across the coin, realizing something is missing, the weight of history in their palm. The sudden thought, could this really be it? Could this penny, the one I almost spent on a piece of gum, actually change everything? And yes, it can. Collectors have already paid staggering amounts for rare minting errors like this. Stories surface of ordinary Americans who walk into coin shops with nothing but loose change, only to walk out with a check that could pay off a mortgage, wipe away debt, or build a new life. Imagine that moment, standing at the counter, the dealer's face frozen in disbelief, and then hearing the words, "Do you know what you have here? So let me ask you, what would you do if you found one? Would you sell it right away, cashing in on the thrill of instant fortune? Or would you keep it, hold it close, knowing you possess a piece of American history no one else can ever replace?" Here's what you need to know. If you pick up a 2004 Lincoln penny, look closely. The date should read 2004, but just to the right of it, above the rim, there should be no mint mark. Nothing. Not a D, not an S. Just blank space where there should be identity. That blank space is your gold mine. But beware. Don't confuse it with the ordinary Philadelphia issues that naturally lack a mint mark. The true rarity lies in those very few error strikes, the ones collectors can verify and authenticate. That's why you must never rush to spend or sell. Instead, double-check, get it graded, and protect it like the treasure map it truly is. Time is not on your side. With every passing year, these coins disappear into private collections, vanishing from the public forever. The supply shrinks, the hunger grows, and the value climbs higher and higher. Right now, in today's market, a 2004 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has sold for as much as $204,000. Let that sink in. 1 cent, 1/100th of a dollar. Suddenly worth more than a luxury home, more than years of salary, more than most people ever dare to dream of holding in their hands. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you dump out that jar of coins that's been sitting untouched for years, look closer. That little copper circle could be the key to your freedom. Don't let history slip through your fingers. Because the next person to find one of these 2004 no-mint Mark Lincoln pennies could be you. Imagine this. A single penny. A coin you've probably tossed into a gas station tip jar without a second thought, could hold the kind of secret that flips a life upside down. A penny from 2002. No-mint Mark. No one ever told you it was dangerous to overlook until now. Because hidden in the copper glow of that coin is a mistake so rare, so bizarre, that collectors are chasing it with the kind of hunger reserved for lost treasure. And if you find it, you could be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. But let's start with the mystery. Why would a 2002 Lincoln penny, one of the most ordinary coins in America, suddenly become a legend? To understand, we have to go back to the year it was made. The U.S. Mint was churning out billions of pennies. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco, each coin tagged with its little letter, its identity, its mark of birth. But somewhere, somehow, a mistake slipped past the watchful eyes. A batch of pennies escaped without their mint mark. No D, no P, just Lincoln, staring forward, naked of his birthplace. It sounds small. A missing letter. But in the world of coin collecting, it's everything. A mint mark is a fingerprint. Without it, the coin becomes an orphan, a ghost that shouldn't exist. And every ghost carries a price. Collectors whispered about it first. Penny with no mark. Was it real or just rumor? Then, proof emerged. A man sorting through rolls of change pulled one from the shadows. At first glance, it looked like every other penny, dull, worn, ordinary. But when the magnifying glass slid over its surface, the truth jumped out. No mint mark. None at all. That single detail turned a 1-cent coin into a piece of forbidden history. Now here's the part that should shake you. Most people who touched these coins spent them at the grocery store, on candy, on gas. They vanished back into the river of circulation, lost forever. Which means the survivors are terrifyingly rare. And that scarcity has turned them into lightning rods for collectors. And the value? It doesn't creep. It doesn't crawl. It explodes. Right now, the 2002 Lincoln penny without a mint mark has sold for staggering amounts, with pristine examples reaching into the hundreds of thousands. Imagine finding a coin worth more than a house in the bottom of your car's cup holder. But before you rush to empty your pockets, listen carefully. Because the difference between fortune and failure is razor thin. There are tricks, fakes, even natural, where that can fool you into thinking your penny is rare. Don't fall for it. Here's how to know for sure. Hold the coin under bright light. Check the obverse, where Lincoln's chest meets the date. Normally, a tiny letter, D, P, or S, declares where the coin was struck. If there is none, and the surface looks original, no scraping, no tampering, then your heart should skip a beat. That's your first sign. Next, study the edges, the fields, the way the copper glows. A genuine no-mint mark penny from 2002 will carry its age honestly. But the missing mark should look natural, like it was never there. If you find one, do not spend it. Do not toss it back into the river. Guard it. Wrap it. Send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC, because their certification is the key that turns suspicion into hard, bankable truth. And here's the reality that should light a fire under you right now. These coins are vanishing. Every day, one is lost, damaged, or overlooked forever. The window to find them is closing, so I'll ask you this. When was the last time you really looked at your pennies? Not just counted them, but studied them. because buried in that pile of copper could be your escape hatch, your lightning strike, your once-in-a-lifetime chance to turn 1 cent into generational wealth. The story of the 2002 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin story. It's a reminder. Life-changing treasure doesn't always hide in locked vaults or deep oceans. Sometimes, it jingles quietly in your pocket, waiting for the one person brave enough, curious enough, awake enough to notice. Right now, this exact penny is worth up to $202,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket this very second. Imagine this. You're holding a single penny, ordinary copper, faded edges, something you might have dropped in a parking lot without a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular penny, struck in 1997 at the Denver Mint, has the power to rewrite a life story? Not just pocket change, a ticket to freedom. A secret so few know, it feels almost dangerous to say it aloud. Here's the question that will not leave you. What if the penny sitting in your jar right now is worth more than your house? Let's peel back the curtain. America was riding the wave of a new digital age, but deep inside the Denver Mint, machines were making mistakes. Slips of the die. Microscopic errors invisible to most eyes. Coins struck just off-center. Doubled letters. Distorted Lincoln profiles that seemed to whisper, "I am not like the others." Most were melted down or overlooked, but a handful escaped. They slipped into circulation like ghosts hiding in plain sight. Imagine one collector, anonymous, quiet, the kind of person who never brags. He picked up a penny, just like you might find in your change at a diner. But this one wasn't ordinary. The D Mint mark carried a strange doubling, almost like it was vibrating. He held it under magnification, and suddenly, he wasn't staring at 1 cent. He was staring at a small fortune. That coin would eventually sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. One coin, one life changed forever. And here's where the suspense tightens. Most people think valuable coins are ancient, tucked away in museums, locked behind glass. But the truth? Some of the most valuable are modern. Modern enough to still be rattling around in cash registers and coffee shop tills. Which means the possibility isn't locked in history. It's alive in your pocket, right now. But wait, what exactly are you looking for? Here is the map. The 1997 Lincoln penny with the D Mint mark can carry errors so rare they command staggering prices. Look closely at the Mint mark. If you see doubling, distortion, or irregular thickness, don't ignore it. Scan Lincoln's face. Sometimes his profile looks shadowed, doubled, or softly blurred. Check the edges. Misstrikes can cause the rim to look uneven, off balance, as if the coin were trembling when it was born. These are the signs. Subtle, rare, but unmistakable if you know what to see. And here's the twist. Thousands of these pennies were spent. People bought gum, coffee, gas, unknowingly handing away fortunes. Some are still being spent, sliding through fingers every day. How many more will vanish before people wake up? Think about it. Your grandparents might have saved jars of coins in basements, drawers, or dusty boxes. How many overlooked pennies are sitting there? Forgotten? What if your inheritance isn't in property or jewelry, but in copper cents hiding under lint? Pause for a moment. Picture your life if you found it. That one coin, no debts, a house paid in full, vacations without guilt, a freedom you never dared imagine, handed to you in the smallest form, 1 cent. And the cruel irony? Millions have touched this coin, spent it, shrugged it off. But only the ones who know the secret will ever claim its true worth. So what happens next? That part is up to you. You could close this video, forget this story, and keep tossing pennies aside. Or you could act. Tonight, go through your jars, your wallets, your forgotten drawers. Hold those 1997 pennies to the light. Search for the mark. Because this is not folklore. This is real. And here is the number you can't ignore. Right now, a single 1997 Lincoln penny with the D Mint mark, if struck with the right error, has sold for as much as $697,000. One penny. That is the truth. And it could be sitting in your pocket this very moment. Imagine holding in your hand a single coin so ordinary it disappears into the background of everyday life. A penny, dated 1993, stamped with a quiet little D. Most people will never notice it. They'll spend it on gum, lose it in the couch cushions, or toss it in a jar without a second thought. But what if I told you that very same penny, right now, could be worth more than most people earn in a lifetime? How is that even possible? Why would a simple Lincoln cent, the kind you've handled thousands of times, carry the power to change your entire future? Stay with me because the truth is far stranger and far more valuable than you could imagine. The story begins in Denver, 1993. The U.S. Mint was churning out billions of Lincoln cents, each one destined to vanish into circulation. But here's where it gets interesting. Somewhere in that relentless machinery, mistakes slipped through. Tiny flaws in design, barely perceptible to the naked eye, that transformed a worthless penny into a priceless relic. A minting error, a doubled strike, a misaligned die. Anomalies so rare that collectors now hunt them like hidden treasure. But the real twist? The Mint never announced it.
No warnings, no recalls.
Just silence. It's as if they wanted the world to forget. And for decades, almost everyone did. Millions of people unknowingly spent their fortunes for a single cent. Imagine the betrayal. The government printing mistakes and leaving ordinary Americans to miss the opportunity of a lifetime. And yet, every so often, one story emerges. A man cleaning out his late father's desk finds a 1993 D penny tucked in a cigar box. First, it looks like nothing. But under the light, the error reveals itself. A rare doubling that changes everything. That 1 cent, sold at auction, brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars. In one instant, a family's life is rewritten, not because of luck, but because they looked closer. So let me ask you, how many times have you glanced past a coin without even turning it over? How many times have you let fortune slip through your fingers because you assumed ordinary meant worthless? This is the danger and the opportunity. Somewhere in your pocket change, in a dusty coffee can in the garage, or in the forgotten drawer of your grandfather's desk, there could be a 1993 D Lincoln cent hiding. Not just any penny. The one with the power to alter your destiny. Here's what you need to know. Don't just check the date. Look carefully for sharp doubling in the letters, especially in Liberty and In God We Trust. Watch for unusual spacing, or for that strange, almost ghost-like second impression that only a trained eye can spot. Even the rim of the coin can reveal secrets, slight misalignments that scream of a rare minting flaw. And here's the warning. If you mistake it for ordinary and spend it, you've just thrown away a small fortune. Collectors are waiting. Auction houses are ready. The demand for this coin is insatiable. And right now, one 1993 D penny, the kind someone might dismiss as pocket change, is worth up to $693,000, so I'll leave you with this. Somewhere, maybe even in the room you're sitting in right now, could be a coin that changes your life forever. Don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it. Search and search carefully, because the treasure of a lifetime may already belong to you. What if I told you that a single penny, struck in 1989, quietly slipped past the U.S. Mint's watchful eyes, and today, it holds the power to rewrite someone's entire life? A penny that looks ordinary enough to spend on a stick of gum. Yet in truth, it could be worth a house, a car, a lifetime of freedom. And here's the terrifying part. Most people who've touched it never even knew what they had. Picture it. 1989. The Cold War is ending. America's optimism is soaring. And Lincoln's face is still pressed into copper-plated zinc the way it had been for decades. Millions of these coins spill into circulation. Pennies clinking in piggy banks, laundromats, corner stores. Everyone assumes they're the same. But hidden among them, a tiny number were born different. They carried no mint mark, no clue of origin, no stamp of where they came from. It was a mistake so subtle, so invisible, that not even the Mint admitted its existence at first. Think about that. A system designed to be flawless, betraying itself. The Mint mark, usually a D for Denver or S for San Francisco, was missing entirely. Some say it was a slip of the hand. Others whisper that entire dies were polished so aggressively, the Mint mark vanished. However it happened, the result was a ghost coin, a phantom hiding in plain sight. Now here's the part that gives me chills. In the late 90s, a humble collector stumbled on one of these 1989 no-mint Mark Lincoln cents while flipping through a jar of change. He nearly spent it, but something about its blank space caught his eye. That coin, once verified, sold at auction for a staggering sum, more than most Americans make in years. Imagine the heart-stopping moment of realizing a penny you almost gave away for nothing could set you free. But don't let nostalgia lull you to sleep. Because here's the danger. Thousands of people will watch this and think, "I'll never find one." And that's exactly why most treasures remain hidden. They slip through careless fingers, they get tossed in coin machines, they vanish into the abyss of circulation. So let me ask you, what if that life-changing coin is already in your house? What if it's waiting in an old coffee tin, a forgotten dresser drawer, a dusty roll of pennies your parents saved for decades? Would you know how to recognize it? Here's the truth. To identify the 1989 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent, you need to look closely, so closely you almost feel like a detective searching for fingerprints. On most 1989 pennies, you'll see a tiny D beneath the date, or occasionally an S. But on these rare survivors, that space is hauntingly empty. Nothing but a clean field where history should have left a mark. And condition matters. If it's crisp, sharp, uncirculated, its value rockets into the hundreds of thousands. Many forgeries float around, and careless grading can destroy your chance at a fortune. If you think you've found one, never polish it, never clean it, never spend it. Get it authenticated by a trusted grading service. That's the difference between a penny that buys a stick of gum and a penny that buys a mansion. Now pause for just a second. Imagine your life if you were the one who uncovered it. Imagine the relief of debts disappearing overnight. Imagine the doors that swing open when freedom is suddenly within reach. Every coin you touch could be a ticket out. Every handful of change could be destiny disguised as pocket lint. And here's the final revelation. Right now, today, the 1989 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent has been valued at up to $689,000. That's nearly $700,000. Hiding in a penny jar. Go look. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Tonight. Because the next person who finds it could be you. And if you don't search, someone else will. Imagine pulling out a penny so ordinary, so forgettable, you almost toss it into the tip jar. But that single coin, smaller than your thumbnail, could quietly be holding the power to rewrite your entire life. What if I told you that a penny minted in 1988, one most people have already spent without a thought, could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars today? And almost no one knows the truth. There's a secret hiding inside America's pocket change. The year was 1988. The Lincoln cent had already been circulating for decades, a coin that passed through the hands of workers, dreamers, parents buying groceries, and kids trading candy. But buried deep inside that year's production was a mistake. A minting slip that was never supposed to see the light of day. Coin without its mint mark. To most eyes, it looks like nothing, just another copper-colored cent. But that missing little letter, that invisible clue, transformed this penny into one of the most valuable secrets the mint ever let escape. Think about it. Millions of coins poured out of the presses that year. The Denver Mint, the Philadelphia Mint, and yet, some slipped through the cracks. A 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. To collectors, that tiny absence is like finding a blank space in the Declaration of Independence, or an artist's brushstroke missing from a masterpiece. It shouldn't exist, but it does. And the few people who discovered it, their lives changed. Imagine being the person who opened an old coin jar in the attic, spotting that odd 1988 penny, and realizing what it really was. One collector sold theirs for a life-altering fortune. more than most Americans earn in a decade, all from a coin you could mistake for spare change. Now here's the dangerous part. The tragedy. Thousands of these coins may have already been lost forever, spent at gas stations, dropped into vending machines, rolling through banks unnoticed. Every day, one of these rare pennies could be vanishing into the noise of ordinary circulation, gone forever. That's the betrayal. That's the heartbreak. And yet, some are still out there. But what if one is sitting in your home right now, in that dusty coffee can, in the drawer you haven't opened in years, in the jar of pennies you've been meaning to cash in? Here's what you need to know to tell the difference between worthless change and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Take any 1988 Lincoln cent and look closely at the space below the date. On most coins, you'll see a mint mark, a tiny D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But on the rarest ones, there's nothing there. Smooth, empty space. No letter, no mark. That's the clue. That's the silence worth a fortune. But be careful. Not every coin that looks off is the real deal. Some are worn down. Some have been tampered with. A genuine no-mint mark 1988 penny will have sharp details everywhere else. Lincoln's profile will be crisp. The date will be clear. The coin will feel whole, unaltered, except for that one missing mark. That's the fingerprint of a mistake you cannot fake. Pause for just a moment and ask yourself, what would finding one mean for you? Clearing debts? Buying freedom? Giving your family a future without financial chains? A coin this small can carry a story bigger than money. Carries possibility. And here is the staggering truth. Right now, collectors are paying up to $688,000 for this exact coin. A single penny. Lost in plain sight, maybe even in your pocket this very moment. So don't just listen. Search your coins tonight, because the people who find these treasures aren't the ones who dream, they're the ones who look. Imagine this. You're holding a penny so ordinary, so familiar, that you barely even glance at it. You toss it into a jar, slide it across a counter, maybe even lose it between your couch cushions. But what if that very penny, one small coin stamped in 1986, held the kind of secret that could rewrite your entire life? A secret worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, hiding in plain sight. This is not folklore. This is not rumor. This is a buried truth about the 1986 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A coin so rare, so staggeringly valuable, that just one could turn someone's spare change into a fortune. But here's the thing. Most people will never know it exists. Most people will spend it, drop it, forget it. And that's why you and I are here right now, because you deserve to know the secret that so many have overlooked. Let me take you back to 1986. Ronald Reagan was president, gas was under $1, and the United States Mint was stamping millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies. Most of them carried a small letter, a D for Denver, or a P for Philadelphia. That letter is more than just a mark. It's the fingerprint of the mint, telling us where the coin was born. But in rare, almost unbelievable cases, that fingerprint never appeared. The mint mark was missing. How does something like that even happen? Imagine the chaos of a factory floor, presses roaring, dies striking metal thousands of times an hour. One tiny mistake in preparation, a die left without its mint mark, can unleash a silent flood of error coins into circulation. Nobody notices at first. They look the same, they spend the same. But in truth, they're imposters. And among collectors, imposters like these are pure gold. Now, here's where it gets even more incredible. Most mint errors get caught. Most never reach your hands. But the 1986 no mint mark penny? It slipped through. It lived a normal life, passing from pocket to pocket, from store to store, until the few that survived were spotted by eagle-eyed collectors who realized what they had found. And when those coins finally hit the auction block, the numbers made jaws drop. I'm not just talking about a couple $100. I'm not even talking about a couple thousand. Right now, this coin, this tiny copper-plated piece of history, is commanding values that reach as high as $686,000. Think about that for a moment. $686,000 for a penny. But here's the haunting part. For every one that's been discovered, there could still be dozens, maybe hundreds, waiting, sitting in jars, hiding in dusty drawers, forgotten in the change trays of old cars. Maybe even in your own home right now. And the clock is ticking, because once people realize what they have, the window to uncover one quietly narrows. So how do you know if you've struck gold? You don't need a lab. You don't need special machines. You just need your eyes and your patience. Pull out any 1986 Lincoln pennies you own. Flip them over. Look right beneath the date. That's where the mint mark should be. If you see a tiny D or P, you're looking at a common coin worth 1 cent. But if that space is clean, empty, untouched, no letter at all, you may be holding one of the rarest treasures in American coinage. But be warned, not every missing mint mark is genuine. Wear and tear can trick you. Dirt and scratches can create illusions. That's why, if you suspect you found one, you don't rush to sell it at a garage sale or trade it at a pawn shop. You protect it. You send it to be authenticated by a trusted grading service. You let experts confirm the truth, because the truth could be worth nearly $750,000. Now I want you to pause and imagine this. You sitting at your kitchen table, spreading out your old coins. Your heart pounding as you hold a 1986 penny between your fingers. You turn it slowly, your eyes locking on that empty space where the mint mark should be. In that instant, your life shifts. Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because you knew where to look. That is the power of knowledge. That is the treasure hiding in plain sight. And the question is, will you act on it? Or will you let it slip through your hands, the way so many others already have? Because here's the undeniable fact. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is spending a fortune on coffee without realizing the coin they gave away could have paid for their freedom. And right now, this exact 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $686,000, and it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket, feel the rough edge of a penny, and without thinking, you almost toss it into a tip jar. But what if that small copper coin you nearly gave away was a secret worth more than your car, your house, even your retirement savings? Tonight, I'm pulling back the curtain on a coin most Americans have touched, most have ignored, and yet, it hides a story so shocking, it could change the rest of your life. The year was 1967. America was torn between the Vietnam War, the Summer of Love, and a government desperate to keep coins in circulation during a national shortage. That year, something extraordinary happened at the U.S. Mint. They stripped away the tiny mint marks, those little letters that tell us where a coin was born. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. Gone. Vanished. As if the mint didn't want anyone to know where these coins came from. And so the 1967 Lincoln penny, the coin I'm telling you about tonight, entered the world already cloaked in mystery. No mint mark.
No birthplace.
Just Lincoln staring into history, and a hidden story waiting to be uncovered. Now, you might be thinking, so what, a missing mint mark? But here's the thing. The mint wasn't perfect. The rush to produce billions of coins created cracks in the system. Errors slipped through. Double strikes. Misalignments. Rare flaws where the lettering stretched, blurred, or broke entirely. These mistakes weren't supposed to survive, but they did. And in the world of coin collectors, mistakes mean fortune. Some of these 1967 pennies have sold not for hundreds, not for thousands, but for prices that push into the hundreds of thousands. Imagine holding a penny in your hand that could erase your debts in an instant, buy you freedom, security, maybe even a piece of the dream you thought was long gone. But here's the dangerous part. Every day, Americans are spending these coins without knowing. Pennies pulled from old coffee cans, forgotten in dressers, dumped at Coinstar machines. Life-changing wealth lost because someone didn't know what they were holding, so let me tell you what to watch for. Hold a 1967 penny under the light. Look for doubled letters in the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." Look for a coin that seems just slightly off. A misaligned strike.
A fint die krek.
The tiniest irregularity could mean the difference between 1 cent and a six-figure payday. And if you find one that looks too perfect, be careful. Many collectors throw those back, but perfection can be just as rare. A flawless 1967 penny, graded in pristine condition, is a prize almost no one has, and it commands staggering value at auction. Now picture this. You open an old box in the attic. Inside, a handful of coins your father or grandfather tucked away half a century ago. They never looked twice at them. But you know the secret. You hold that penny to the light and see something different. At that moment, the past, the present, and your future collide in your hand. That's the power of this coin. Not just money, legacy, freedom, the chance to rewrite your story with a discovery nobody believed was possible. And here's the truth that will keep you awake tonight. Right now, this exact 1967 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has been valued at up to $646,000. One coin, one chance, and it could be sitting in your pocket right now. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, a coin so ordinary, so plain, that you'd never think twice before tossing it into a jar or handing it to a cashier. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, struck in 1964 with a small, almost invisible D beneath the date, could unlock a fortune so staggering? It could rewrite the course of your life. This is not a rumor. It's not folklore. It's one of the rarest secrets in American coinage. A secret hidden in plain sight for nearly 60 years. The year was 1964. America was in the middle of change. The Kennedy assassination still fresh in memory, the civil rights movement shaking the nation, and the mint scrambling to keep up with a desperate shortage of coins. Demand was skyrocketing, and under pressure, mistakes were made. Tiny mistakes, invisible to most. But for those who know what to look for, mistakes that could mean the difference between 1 cent and six figures. The Denver Mint, working at a fever pitch, struck billions of pennies that year. But in the chaos, a handful slipped through the cracks. Some were misstruck. Some bore doubling so delicate, only a careful eye could see it. Some held a flaw so strange, collectors still whisper about it today. The kind of flaw that transforms a single Lincoln cent into a golden ticket. And here's the truth most people never hear. The 1964 D. Lincoln penny isn't just another old copper coin. It is a vault, locked tight, holding a potential payday of hundreds of thousands of dollars. But how many people toss them away? How many pennies worth a lifetime of wealth slid through fingers and vanished into circulation, lost forever? Imagine this. A man in Colorado, sifting through his late father's old coffee can of change, finds a 1964 D penny. At first, it looks like any other. But under the magnifying glass, his heart stops. The D is doubled, clear as day. That single coin, once dismissed as pocket change, sold at auction for a price most people will never earn in a year. One coffee can, one overlooked detail, one life forever altered. And here's where it gets dangerous. Most collectors, even experienced ones, miss it. They think they're holding nothing more than copper. They spend it. They throw it away. They let the dream slip through their hands because they don't know what signs to search for. So let me give you the map. First, check beneath the date. The Denver D mint mark should be crisp. If it looks doubled, shadowed, or slightly off, stop everything. That could be the difference between 1 cent and 6 figures. Next, look closely at Lincoln's face. On rare examples, doubling can appear in the profile, the ear, even the words, "In God we trust." To an untrained eye, it's nothing. To the right buyer, it's everything. And never forget the edges. Errors sometimes hide there. Clipped planchets, unusual thickness, even a warped strike. These flaws are not imperfections. They are proof. Proof that your penny is not ordinary, but extraordinary. Now think about this. Right now, millions of Americans have jars of old change sitting untouched in their kitchens, basements, or attics. Inside those jars may be coins that could pay off debt, buy a home, or create generational wealth. The treasure is not buried under the ocean or locked in a vault. Could be sitting just a few feet away from you, hidden in plain sight. But here is the catch. Time is running out. Every year, more of these coins disappear into private collections. Every year, fewer surface on the market. The window to find one is closing, and those who hesitate may never get another chance. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you glance at that jar of pennies you haven't touched in years, remember this moment. Ask yourself, what if the coin that could change your life is already in your hands? Because right now, the 1964 D Lincoln penny, the right one with the rare errors, the double details, the hidden flaws, is worth up to $664,000. And somewhere in America, one is waiting to be found.